Be yourself.
I want you to think back to a time where you had to meet someone for the very first time. This could be a first date, a job interview, maybe just someone you met at a bar or a social gathering. And you felt, just try to recall that feeling of nervousness and unsure that you had. Because I'm sure at some point in your life, I know I have, I've had that advice given to me of those 3 magical words. Just be yourself. Who in here has been given this advice? Just be yourself. It's probably everybody. And I find that to be quite a disheartening thing because it's very pervasive in our culture. So, my fellow Toastmasters, you will learn after my presentation why it's actually a really bad idea to just be yourself and what you should do instead. So, when you hear be yourself, what does that really mean? What does that imply to you? No self-censorship, to be honest, to express what you're thinking, not to censor yourself whatsoever, maybe to be authentic. Well, as we know from Tim's speech, once is not enough. What we don't know what authentic means. So let me be authentic right now. No one wants to see your true self. Let's be honest here. There are some things that happen in your mind that should not be publicized, and that does not, and that's not a bad thing. Perhaps those dark thoughts that just randomly arise in your brain, because if you think about it, thoughts just kind of arise randomly in consciousness. I'm talking to you here right now about not being yourself, and you could be thinking something like, man, I hope I didn't leave the stove on or something. It might not have anything to do with what I'm saying. So the fact that we have these thoughts, there's nothing wrong with that, but it definitely shouldn't be publicized. Not everything we have to do. So you may be thinking, well, if I shouldn't be myself, then who should I be? I mean, how can I be anyone other than myself? Well, my response to that would be well, what if yourself sucks? What if you are a selfish, unsympathetic, horrible person that no one likes to be around? Should you be yourself then? Would you tell Roman Polanski to just be yourself? No, that's insane. Because the thing is, personality is very, very malleable. We're many different things at very different times. We choose to be different people depending on the scenario. Who has ever heard the term, just be your best self? Doesn't that statement already imply that you're just many different other people depending on the circumstance? Many of you in here are probably brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, co-workers, friends. You are very much different in all of those roles because many of you are those same roles at the same time. For example, you probably wouldn't be the husband to your boss. That would not be, even if that's, I guess if your boss is your wife. But even then, if that were true, you shouldn't act upon the thought of, having sex on the meeting table just because that was the most authentic thought that you had at the time would not be an appropriate or good idea. But that's part of being authentic, right? Expressing who you are, being your true self. Another reason why it's not a good idea to be yourself is because you don't know yourself. If you think about it, you are the worst judge of yourself. For example, if you were at a social gathering at a party and someone came up to you and be like, hey man, you're kind of acting like a dick right now. Everyone's feeling really, really uncomfortable around you. You can't be like, no, I'm not doing that. You don't get to decide that. Other people can only decide that about you. I mean, we've all been in that scenario where we have that one guy at the party who just doesn't get it, who doesn't understand that his behavior is negatively affecting anybody else. I'm sure this person is being himself, but that's not good. I mean, why did you join Toastmasters in the first place? You wanted to become a better speaker, right? You probably didn't join Toastmasters because, oh, being myself, that's the best speaker I got. No, you probably didn't want to be yourself. You probably wanted to be Tony Robbins at the time. I mean, if you can just ask yourself the question, if I asked you, Tim, who is someone that you look up to that you wish you were more like?
Tony Robbins.
Does the fact that you want to be more like Tony Robbins implies that there's some things about yourself that you're lacking in?
I'm lacking Tony Robbins.
Exactly. We all have things in areas about ourselves that we are lacking in. And if we are just being ourselves, that will prevent us from being anything other than ourselves. We can't progress by staying who we are. So you're probably thinking right now, okay, if I can't be myself, or I shouldn't be myself, who should I be? What should I do? Well, that's easy. Forget being yourself. Be congruent. Be congruent. Make your behavior congruent to the person that you're trying to be at the time. Think about it. Congruency happens when your behavior is consistent with what you try to profess and spout out. In this day and age, it is we see too often many people saying things that they believe in, but acting a totally different way. It takes true courage and ability to be congruent with yourself, to make sure that you act on your beliefs and your values. And that's real. Who here has heard the term fake it till you make it? Well, this is actually really good advice. If you are shy and introverted, but you desperately want to become a confident person, then you should be doing what confident people do. Be congruent with confident people. If you are not happy with your financial situation, you should do what wealthy people do. Be congruent to that. Fake it till you make it is a great motto to live by, because as you continue to change your behavior and become what you want to become, this is the essence of true change. Being a certain way enough of a time will eventually change you to become that person. So, my fellow Toastmasters, the next time someone tells you to just be yourself, run. Run far away from that person because they do not have your best interest at heart. No, you shouldn't have to run. What you should do is just remember, when you hear be yourself, remember that not everyone wants to hear what's going on in your brain. Not everyone needs to hear what's going on there. But what they want you to do is to live up to all the things that you spout out and profess to them. Thank you, and just stay congruent.
Did I overpromise? Did I overpromise this guy? You thought you were going pretty good.